Welcome back, Clint from Cbuilt Properties. Exciting news today. We have come up with the name. We're running with the Builders Bench podcast. That was the most popular when I popped it on social media. I'd like to say also thank you very much to our sponsor, Perception Windows, for coming on board with us. Without you sponsors, the podcast can't get bigger and better. With you guys, we can achieve a bigger and better audience, and that's exactly what we're out for. Today's guest is Martin from Earthlift Excavations, so we're really excited to have Martin on board, and he's going to share some insight with the some highs and lows and the experience he's taken on board being in the industry in the past few years. So really excited to get into this episode. Hi everyone, welcome to episode 3 of the Builders Bench podcast, brought to you by Cbuilt Properties. We had some great feedback from the last 2 episodes and very excited to get the next episodes up and running for you guys to listen to. Today we've got Marty from Earthlift Excavations. Thanks for joining us, Marty.
Thanks for having me, Clint.
No worries. Mate, Earthlift, how long have you been in the game? Where'd it come from? How'd it start?
So Earthlift's been around since 1968.
Right.
But in its current, I suppose, ownership, as you say, since about 1984. So Noel, who basically bought into the business, he bought into the business back in 84. He's actually my father. So what started off as kind of like a bit of a family business. 40 years ago, I'd be going in to work on a Saturday with him and just running amok through the sheds and things like that, getting taken.
And how old were you back then? Kid?
So I would have been 4 when he started, when he took over the company, but my first recollections of like were about 6 or 7 years old. So
so it's been in the blood since a kid. You've loved everything excavators, digging.
Well, it's funny you should say that. I won't say that excavating's so much in the blood.
Yeah.
My old man started off as a civil engineer.
Right.
Working for AV Jennings.
Yeah, right.
So he was working for them when basically Jennings were the volume builder.
Yep.
And so the way everyone used to build back then was it was all raft slabs. And then all of a sudden all the new waffle pods started coming in.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think he kind of saw there was a bit of a change in the way that things were going to get done on site. There was going to be more of an excavation that was going to be needed before drains, before the electricals, and then before the slab gets actually put down. So, bought.
So strategy sort of changed slightly, method changed a little bit.
Yeah.
So AV Jennings, I mean, they were a big volume builder back then. Now they've sort of gone into...
They were the volume builder back then. Yeah, that's it.
So I think AV Jennings really started off... I think a lot of volume builders actually branched off from AV Jennings.
That's exactly right.
So I think they basically learnt with AV Jennings and then they branched off using their method of building, and that's probably when things have changed. Volume builder become really volume builder because the competition came in, and obviously there's cost to that too. There's a huge amount of competition, so that's where the waffle pod slabs came in, and they're probably a bit of a cheaper option. So obviously you guys have looked at that and gone, well, we got to change something before. That's it.
Yeah. So he had not really having an excavation background then, he bought into the business with some, I suppose you'd call them geotechs.
Yep.
So the company was founded on the engineering and the geotechnical side of things.
Yeah, right.
And they never worked they were never in the machines themselves. They were never driving the trucks themselves. Yep. They just basically bought the machine, bought the trucks, and then basically started working for, it was pretty much Jennings at the start.
Yeah.
And then had a machine, a couple of trucks. That's about it.
So one machine, couple of trucks.
Basically.
What was the machine? 20 ton? 20?
It would have been a Cato.
Cato 5-tonner? No.
Would have been a 12 tonner.
12 ton.
So and to be perfectly honest, couldn't even tell you exactly what the first machine they had was. But
yeah.
So
Well, that was one of my questions, but
so it would have been a Cato. They always had Catos to start with. 12 and 20 tonners.
Yeah.
And geez, they were driving around in Mack trucks back then, I think.
Mack trucks.
Yeah.
The old Mack trucks. Leading on from that, I remember when because I was a Henley apprentice.
Okay. Yep.
So I think you guys were doing.
We'd have been doing a little bit of work for them,
Henley. So I remember as an apprentice seeing the Earthlift trucks come in, with the excavator and take the soil away, and it was a big operation. I mean, you'd see them every single day, whether it was out in the west, out in the out in the north. And
we'd always joke that we've only got one truck. He just does a lot of miles, but we've got there's a fair few trucks floating around, and most. It's amazing how often I'll be just walking around anywhere and people will see the shirt or the jumper that I'm wearing and go, "Hey, I see your trucks everywhere."
That's good. That's good. I mean, that's what you want. That's something you can value to a long-term business that's seen the hard times, that's seen the good times, and the words. And it's a popular business. I mean, it's a creditable business. I couldn't believe when I was an apprentice, I would never have thought that Earthlift would be excavating or contracting on our builds as well, and it's when you think about it in that way, you're like, geez, that's unbelievable. Like, never thought. I mean, when you're an apprentice, you're in that sort of apprentice mode. You never think that you're really going to be a builder. I'm not saying we're a volume builder and we're anything like Henley Homes, but it's something to when you look back at it, it's quite funny.
When were you an apprentice?
Oh, I was 2006, I think I started.
Okay.
So it was long time ago. All right, sorry to interrupt the episode, but I just want to say thanks to our major sponsor, Perception Windows, for these episodes. As you can see, beautiful window, 5mm thick glass, 512/5 awning windows, commercial type or residential type. They are inline profiles, so no rebate, and the beautiful window, nice and solid. So we love working with Perception. Going on from those raft slabs and you Earthlift changing into the what would it be? It would be the waffle pod.
Yes.
So heights were different too.
Yes. Yep.
So instead of working on a raft slab height, you're working on a waffle pod slab.
Yeah, deeper cuts.
So
generally.
Now I mentioned to you before, like off air, the importance of getting these heights right. And one thing that's always stuck with me is and this was the moment that we made a huge shift in our business and our strategy and how we do it. Mm-hmm. Is we made a $10,000 mistake. So it was with our heights. So when as I said, when you're going for your builder's application, one part of it of the assessment is heights and FFLs and everything like that. So if you don't pass that part of the examination, that's basically one huge part of it. So you can potentially fail.
Yeah.
Now, when you do it every day, it's obviously something. It's just second nature. But when you're not doing it every day, you can get sort of overwhelmed and flustered, especially when you've got people standing there with, that's costing you money, an excavator sitting there costing you money. So I remember the time that it was a unit side and I said, Cam, how you going out there? And he said, it's pretty high. So I went out there and checked it out and we're both scratching our heads. I'm looking at the FFLs. I had the laser level out and it all seemed okay, but then we're like, no, it's still not right. Now, mind you, this is all town planning. It's all been through town planning. So if you get this wrong, it's a big mistake.
It's massive.
Huge mistake. Yeah. So the importance that I'm trying to get at, in the end, that stuff up costs us about $10,000. And it is what it is.
Which at times can probably be, $10,000 can probably be a very inexpensive way to solve these problems, because we've seen these problems cost up to $500,000. It's
I've heard.
Not directly to us, but it can cost a builder if you get them wrong at the start, and it's allowed to continue.
That's right.
The problem just amplifies.
And I suppose with mistakes, obviously, things are obviously preferably you don't make any mistakes, but unfortunately that's the only way you're going to learn. Hence why we changed our method, and as I said before, our strategy. So we figured, stuff it. We're going to get someone like Earthlift. They're a reputable company, so we touch bases with you guys, and then you guys handle everything. I mean, it is like I said the other day, like Cam said the other day, it's almost like a burden for him to go on the job site, and say, hey, it's only just hi, how you going, and away you go. But which of course we're going to keep doing that. That's just what we do. But it's just you handle heights, you know your heights, you know your levels, and it's all left up to you. Yeah.
With, I suppose, a lot goes on in the office before the plans actually get sent out to our operators. We don't just hand our operators the plans and say, here, dig this.
Yeah.
Like by the time it gets to them, our operators are very good operators. Now we've kind of simplified things as much as possible so they can just get on site, set it out, and then just dig.
Yeah.
So we've got our estimators will be checking levels. It also goes to our operations staff that will check the levels beforehand. So if anything's wrong with the plans to start with, it shouldn't even get to site. And then I suppose just the way we mark up our plans for the operators, it literally just dumbs it down just so they can look at it and go, that's TBM, that's the level, that's what I'm cutting to. So
and as you said before, the issue is like when we go out to the job site and look at those things, we've got offsets that we're working with. We've got the TBMs, as you said, there could be 5 nails for the TBM, which TBM is total benchmark. I'll put, just so everyone knows.
Temporary benchmark.
Temporary benchmark, total benchmark. Yeah. Temporary benchmark. No, you're right.
Total or temporary.
Well, that's actually one of the...
Like the RLs can be relative level or... it could be...
So it's like... So you've got to be really switched on in that sense. So like you guys are actually trained in that as well. But like as we said off air, like going back to the costly stuff ups, you mentioned a builder, and I've heard a story of a builder. We won't mention names, but it was a builder that the heights were wrong. Not too sure whether you were involved, Earthlifts were involved with this particular build that I've heard, but I think you've got another story that sort of could be the same. And I heard that the FFLs were wrong, so the client wasn't happy, so he got the house for free in the end, and what he did was because the driveway was too steep, because there are regulations on driveways being too steep of an incline too, because if you've got a low car, then you're going to scrape. So this driveway was too steep, and it just was impossible to get, I think, any car in.
The driveway gradient should be 1 in 5. So effectively, you can't go over that. Like most setbacks for houses these days, in the greenfields areas, they're not much more than 5 metres. So you can't be raising up off the road more than a metre.
It is actually real hard in some cases. The more, especially with us with sloping blocks, the more, you'd have to just do a bigger cut, I suppose, or drop it all down and be in a bit of a hole. But so it actually makes it quite difficult rather than have a bit more of a setback, more than 5.5 metres, and you've got more of more play with the incline or the garage heights. But apparently this house, he got it for free, and all he did was he cut the garage slab out and built the walls again, and he got the house for nothing in the end. But what's your story? Like what?
Yeah, so it seems similar to things we've come across before. You do your excavation, you go to the levels, and by the time this one that we had, by the time the house was built, all of a sudden they're coming back to us saying the finished floor level's wrong. Yeah. And it's like, well, these are the plans you gave us. Yeah. This is the info provided. This is what we've done. It's like at what stage do you start saying, well, you can't just go dust your hands off it.
That's right.
It's not our problem. Like you're working for a builder, you got to help them out. But as it turns out, the finished floor level, the slab was poured 100 mil too low, and it was a flood-prone area. So effectively, the house had to got pulled down, got pulled down, and then had to build it up.
And when did they notice that? At the end,
as they handed the house over to the client decided to get his inspector, and so there's how many floors are there from the start to finish?
I would say they knew that the whole way through.
Yeah, something. It's
I mean, the thing is, it points fingers. You know,
everyone.
But this is why it's so well documented, and it's gone to another level of documentation. When you look back at when I was an apprentice, and it was very minimal. I mean, I looked at a set of plans the other day from 2006. It was hand-drawn.
Yep.
We've always had hand-drawn plans. The FFLs were there, but they were vague. You know, it's all... Back then, you probably would have got away with it. But now...
Yeah, with the rules and regulations. And I said, like you said, it cost you 10 grand to change your processes internally, so that stuff that doesn't happen. We don't think, well, we know that we haven't done anything wrong for this particular job, but in order to stop that from going forward and to stop any hassles, we've put checks and things in place, like the estimators and then the operation staff check. The way we draw plans up, just the checking and cross-checking we do before we go to site, and like what this story that I'm telling, this is going back years and years and years ago. Yeah. So it's not as if it was just a couple of years ago. Yeah. And since then, since we put these processes in place, it just... You
improve the business.
Yeah,
you improve your what would you say? You just streamline it. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah,
streamline your business, and sometimes
streamline your processes and make them... You're making everyone more accountable. So, and then... I suppose there's just that proof at the end that like this is what we're done. We, especially for an AHD job, because they're probably the most important ones. If it's if you don't achieve those AHD levels, then I suppose that is where we've found most of the problems are going to be with. If there's no HD levels, quite often they can raise levels 50 mil, 100 mil type thing.
And you can shove some soil around.
They do. They can, but once we've got our processes in place like this, it's been like we don't have those problems anymore. Right.
So I suppose that leads me on to the next question. Like, I mean, dealing with those stuff-ups, dealing with whether it's supervisors or builders, how have you seen the business transactions change from 10, 15 years ago to now, the new age builders, new age supervisors? How are they approaching things? Are they knowledgeable, or do they just get their back up and think, I know everything. No, it's me. I know everything. Of course, I've done this.
I actually find nowadays, and I don't think it's just the building industry. I just think it's in dealing with people in general, and it's the way you look at how footy coaches speak to their players these days. It's not pointing the finger, and it's not. It's the same
beating around the bush.
Yeah, I think.
Is it honest?
In talking in footy terms, they want to give you a hug and pat you on the back and say it's okay. This is what we need to do better. I think almost society is almost going that way. Like, people want to be spoken to as people rather than just yelled at and say, get that. People don't want to kick up the backside and be scared into doing the right thing. And if you have adult conversations with people, you tend to form those relationships better. So mistakes happen. Yeah. And we're
only human.
Yeah, we get 99 out of 100 supervisors, building managers, whoever will come to us and say, hey, look, this is wrong, can you get back there and fix it up? Yeah. And I think people just appreciate being spoken to as an adult rather than being spoken at. Yeah. Now I'm probably at that age where when I was younger, it was my way or the highway, you do it like this, and kind of as I'm getting older, trying to transition through that, into this more new age way of just going, all right, well, let's
Life's
work.
too short to be arguing or
let's work through this together, and we can say I think sometimes.
But everything at the end of the day, everything's insured too. Yeah.
Well, that's just it. Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, there's been huge changes in the industry in the last few years, and I've mentioned this on the last few episodes. Ever since COVID, I think COVID was a huge game changer all around. Like we just mentioned off air, that not just like in the industry, but just in everything in general.
Yeah.
How have you adapted with because I know with COVID and the supply issues and everything like that, there's been difficulty with builders into liquidation, and I do know of a we won't mention names, but a builder that that you were in trouble with, and sort of led you on, and you know you're so in depth with them, you trust them, you've been working with them for years, and then all of a sudden the next day it's like, how did it all go down? Like, what did you know about it? I think you knew about it like a few years. Did you? When you heard they were into liquidation, was it like that day, or was it like a few weeks before? Because I mean, this was out in the news.
Yeah.
I mean, this was big. This was big news.
You hear rumours, and because we're one of the first ones on site, and we get, and I suppose just the way our company's set up, we get debtors insurance on everyone, so we're not exposed.
Yep.
You start hearing. And just through talking and having relationships with other suppliers and insurance companies, you hear rumours. The same patterns form for the majority of builders that have gone out. Like, there's been builders going under for 10, 15 years that we've worked for. The same patterns appear. They're late paying accounts. Then you put their account on hold. Then they pay you so they can get more work done.
It's just like a bit of a vicious cycle, isn't it?
And those patterns form, and it's not as if it goes, once that happens, once they go under, it can go on for years.
Yeah.
And then you keep working with them. You're
behind. Like, if you're going on for years, then you're still behind in payments. So you might, you still, there could be 100, could be in the thousands, could be in the 100,000s of pay. You're still behind. So it's like, well, I just keep doing the work. So you just sort of keep them happy, because obviously if you're not doing the work and you stop tomorrow, then
there's no cash coming in.
Yeah, that's it. That's
it. So we don't expose ourselves unnecessarily, but you keep working for these ones. They keep, and then so those patterns form, and then eventually you see them go under. With this particular one, those patterns didn't form. And we had really good relationships with the people in there. The rumours were starting. We helped them, and eventually they went under. And
was it like? Did it go? Hey, do you want to come in and meet in the office? We'll talk about this. Was it like
when the switch got flicked off? No, it was kind of like you get a phone call and say, "Hey, this is it, bang, done."
Because I think who was on Four Corners? Was it Four Corners?
That was our managing director, was Peter McLeod, yeah.
Peter McLeod. So Peter McLeod was, because I watched that night, it was pretty unbelievable. What was, I mean, you don't have to say the figure, but what was the damage? Like, was it a lot?
It was a lot.
It was a lot.
It was a lot, yeah. It was probably, look, we're fortunate with the way the business has been set up and the way the business is run, that we haven't exposed ourselves that because other suppliers went under. Yeah. We were lucky enough that we were able to trade out. We had a sketchy few months there. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, there was a few sleepless nights there for I suppose the people who are pumping their money into the business. But just through I suppose the good business practices that were put in place, we've traded our way out of it. And
that's unbelievable. And that is awesome to hear too. Like, because, you hear a lot of, I mean, mentally it's straining. Right?
I think that's probably the big one, yeah.
Yeah, that's, mentally it's straining, and this is what, like as we said before, we're only human too, yeah.
Well, for the directors of the company, it's not just their own pockets that they're worried about. They're worried about me. They're worried about the other guys that are working there. Everyone's got families.
That's right.
Like they're
exactly right.
They're family people themselves, and if that goes under, then there's 60 other families that are probably going to be affected directly, who you've had close relationships with for years. So it's not as
absolutely
if
like it's great to see that, like, you've just been you're hanging in there, and you've come out of that unscathed, really. So I think going on from, obviously we don't want to keep talking about negatives, mistakes, and sort of what we just touched on. The most enjoyable job from Earthlift, do you remember? Is it a Cbuilt job?
Oh, there's been several. Kind of, you can trace it all the way back to the first job you work on, which would have been just a 500 square metre block, single dwelling house, and the first one that...
It's exciting.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I've done this first one, and then from there you go, okay, I've done this first one, okay, how can I do it better? And then how can you do it better? And then after doing that same sort of job for 2 years, you go, I need something else now. Let's see something bigger. So we've had, the majority of our work has always been the single dwellings for the volume builders, but I guarantee you most people, there's a lot of people within the business that love building love working on these sites, like the last one we did for you out in Eltham. Yeah. It's a bit more challenging. There's a bit more in it.
There's a big cut. I actually haven't been out there.
You don't. See, these smaller ones you've got to go to this job, to this job, to this job in the same day. Yep. But with something like that, you could be on there for 5 days, and you can actually, you take a photo of the site beforehand and then take it afterwards, and it's just remarkable.
You know what? We'll get a photo of that up.
So we've actually got one in Templestowe starting Monday. We did the site cut there with a bit of a small basement. It was a decent sized cut. Yep. Took us probably a couple of weeks to finish the excavation. The house is built. It's been handed over to the client. The client's bringing us back to do all the excavation and landscaping work in conjunction with the concreter. So things like that.
And that's when you appreciate it too, because you actually go back to, because you're at the start of the job, but you don't necessarily go back to the end.
Never see it.
Never see it.
And this is a remarkable house too. So it's
beautiful. Love it. Yeah. Absolutely love it. So if you could go back in time, anything that you'd change? I mean, anything you'd do differently? Any advice that you could give? I don't know, some young, what you call it, entrepreneurs looking into getting their first excavator, or starting off their own excavation business, landscaping business, anything.
I'd say be careful about doing it right now in this climate. Yeah. Not to scare people away from doing it, but if it's your passion, it's your passion. Yeah. Get in there and do it. Yeah. Advice I'd give myself, because I've worked with Earthlift. Yeah. And then found something else to do, and then came back to Earthlift, and then found something else to do. Yeah. I'd probably focus more on Earthlift, and probably, I suppose, just rounding myself off a little bit more than just, when you're young, you're probably a little bit scattered here and there.
Did you go through, like, when you say that the grass is always greener?
Yeah. 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 Yeah, grass is always greener.
I think in a way everyone thinks that. Yeah. And I think you're only human if you do think that. But you got to go there to see it. Yeah. And then you realise,
You realise how. Look, I honestly, I'm working for a great company. The people I work for, I think any good workplace, if you're allowed the freedom to do your job, and as long as you're doing your job, they're not looking over your shoulder and trying to micromanage it.
So I noticed the other day when we were exchanging emails, I looked down the bottom of your email. I had the barbecue.
Yes.
Book it in, mate, for Eltham.
Yeah. Well, so the barbecue was an idea of a previous employee. He's now left, but we got the, what is it? It's a 6x4 trailer, and we've got we've got a mud bucket on the back of it, and we've got a pull out barbecue, and it's got the nice cat eskies there, and the gas bottles, and it's got the
watch that on socials, everyone. So we'll have that on, we'll get Earthlift on the job. We'll have that on socials. So look out for that one.
It's actually, and it's a really good way. We take it out to job sites, and it's a really good way just to meet
and talk,
just to meet everyone.
It's good, I love it. Yeah, I think it's a great idea, ripper idea.
So the last one we did, we put it on for a builder, and all their supervisors were there.
I saw it.
Next thing you know, you got plumbers down the road just sniffing out.
Was it boutique or something like that? Boutique.
It was for Henley Homes.
Henley Homes.
And then all of a sudden we're getting people from different job sites coming down, having
how good's that?
Have a sausage.
To Henley Homes, I might add too. When I was an apprentice, I was apprentice of the year.
Oh yeah.
At Henley Homes. I said that to the boys. They loved it.
Very good.
Before we wrap it up, footy team, hobbies.
I'm a Carlton supporter. Oh, sorry, I'm a Carlton supporter. So.
Yeah, here we go. All right.
So
get out.
We'll see. We'll see how happy I am after the weekend.
Yeah, that's it.
I'll be going with the family.
You're just hanging in there, eh?
Yeah.
Hobbies?
Like most middle-aged men, if they can't afford a Mustang, they go running or cycling. So I do a fair bit of running.
Oh, good on you. Yeah. That's good. I thought you were going to say fishing or something. You look like
fishing's not quite. I don't mind throwing a line in, but I'm going for a run. I'll be doing I'm training for the Melbourne Marathon, so I'm running about 30k tomorrow morning just for
mate.
Just
that's blowing me out of the water.
Because that's what we do for fun, you see.
Get out. So how does anyone or any other builder or trade out there need to find your socials or web page?
we are on social. Just everything's under Earthlift. So Earthlift Excavations. We're on Insta. We're pretty heavy putting some videos up on that. Facebook as well. Yeah. You can find me on LinkedIn. Martin Porter, Earthlift, and then the website's just getting a bit of a revamp at the moment. So we've still got the website up and going, but it'll be a lot more attractive to look at. So www.earthlift.
Beautiful. Good.
So there we go.
All right, get on to Earthlift. No, thanks, mate. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it, and thanks for Earthlift for supporting Cbuilt and supporting the podcast.
Thanks for bringing us on. It's been look, we love working for you, and
we're
happy to get the barbie.
That's good, mate. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Cheers.